So, when we were kids, we would go out because the reason why this came up is I looked outside and I was like, oh, it's still bright. Like it was like getting kind of dark. And I looked at the time, it was like 9. And I was like, oh yeah, this is probably like when, we'd start winding down the basketball period. And then, cause like me, like right now it's like 9:30, not now, but like now in my age, like at 9:30, we're like, okay, we're getting ready for bed. And like 10:30, we're like, we're going to go to bed. It's like 10, we're like getting, like, it's pretty much
Mm-hmm,
done. The
mm-hmm.
day's done, right? But I was like, but that's kind of like prime time as a kid for us, right? And Tara's like, what do you mean? And like, were you one of those kids that like when it went dark, you'd have to go inside? I'm like, my mom would just like open the door and shout like, "Hey, VJ, it's like night, time to come inside." Remember, she used to do that. Like we play
Yeah,
basketball,
yeah,
like
yeah,
one more game, one more game. Hold on, we're like almost done. We're almost done. And then we'd like keep playing, we'd keep playing, and then we'd be like, "Oh shoot, it's too dark." And then we'd be like, "All right, Vish, open your garage." And then we'd start like move to ping pong.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Remember? And then and then you'd like show us something that you were watching on your PlayStation PSP. Remember we talked about
Something.
Avatar, right?
Right, right,
And,
yeah, yeah.
and and then my mom would like open the door kind of like, it's been an hour. What are you doing? And like, all right, no, we're just playing in Vicious Garage. And then we'd go in at like, I don't know, like 12 a.m. sometimes, like 1 a.m. Or like my mom would be like, oh, it's dark, just come into our house. So we'd all go into my house, we start playing video games. Remember that? Like it was just like, but that was a constant. It was like
Yeah,
10
yeah,
a.m. I'd like wake up 10 a.m., run outside, go to your house, and be like, "Hey, Mrs. Gundolker, is Vishal home?" And then she'd be like, "Oh, Vishal,
yeah.
BJ's outside, right?" And then like you'd be like, "Oh, I'll be out in a second." I'm like, "All right, cool." And I'll run over to Wob's house, be like, "Mr. Bautista, is Brentley home?" And then Brentley would like pop out his head, and then he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come outside in a second." And then I just wait outside while shooting the basketball until both of you guys came outside, right? Right, right. That was like
Sure.
our day. It was like from 10, and then maybe there'd be a break. We'd just go out and eat, and then we'd like end off at like midnight, and just do it again,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. That's what you remember, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then all right, and then Tara's like, "Well, how long did that last? Like, how old are you?" I'm like maybe like elementary school is like I remember it still being like grade 6, 7, like whenever you moved there, and like we were kind of doing that thing, and then even in university, remember like you'd like go to college and then you'd come home and then we'd be playing basketball still. I'm like, hey, Vish is home. All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like we literally did that every single day
Yeah,
until
yeah.
like we were really old, you know?
Right.
No, but like repetitively. And then we just always be like, well, what are we going to do today? It's kind of boring. Do you want to go to the basketball courts? Or like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
do you want to go bike to Pickering? Like we try and find something to do, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, what happened between then and now? All right, what's your takeaway? Because like you were talking about it too, and it's just like it's just so different now, you know?
Yeah, it's different. I mean, yeah, you grow up, you either have family and things like that. But like my thing was, even though with all that, or our discussion was more about like how lucky we actually were in the
Oh,
way that
interesting,
things were set up. Because you're not gonna have friends right next door. That doesn't
dude.
happen.
No, I know. No, I know. No, I know. That's
Right?
the crazy part.
Yeah.
But no, that's literally the
Yeah.
crazy part about it, right? And it's like as I see like Jared Wobb said they have kids now and they're getting older and it's just like that was just like it's kind of just phasing into like adulthood. But I was
Mm-hmm.
like, where is that point where it's like you go from being a kid playing outside to being an adult,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, is it when you have your own kids? Like that's the only sticking point for me where I'm like, is that the jump? I don't know where the jump is. There's like a point where you're just like, oh, we're not playing outside anymore. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But all right, continue with your thing about like the luckiness and like, because I'm
No,
so interested to see what you're gonna
yeah,
say.
just I think that it was we were able to keep it for so long was because we were right next door to each other,
Yeah, literally.
right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
it's just
That's a
it's
huge
just
part of
easier
it.
to yeah. Like but some people didn't have it like that. So we
Remember
were
when Wob moved one block over? We just stopped calling him out. We're like, oh, so far now,
yeah. Yeah, it was far. It
right?
was yeah.
But it was like literally just like one street over. But it was like so hard to call him out because you
Yeah.
gotta walk over there. There's no cell phones, right? So you can't
Right.
just text them and be like, yo, we're outside.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
But like,
interesting. Yeah, yeah. What else? But we were I mean it was easier because we were neighbors, and then we were able to just call out each other, right? Like just ring on the bell. It's easy to do
yeah,
that.
totally. But you know what's interesting? No, like it's not just the bell thing. Okay,
Hmm.
so like now we're getting to like the sadder aspects of it, because like now I just started like explaining it, and Tara's like, oh, that's kind of sad for them, right? But all right, so after I'd call Wob out and we'd shoot, and then we'd be like we'd playing, and then we'd be like, yo, should we call it Mark? I'm like, yeah, yeah, all right, cool, cool. So we'd like walk over, like if I hadn't done it already,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we
Right.
would all walk over, and then we just spend time in his garage, like playing poker or something. Playing, he had a basketball net too, so we played there, and then we'd be like, yo, should we call this it? Oh, it's kind of far. You know what I mean? Like, it was a kind of mission, right? And like, even Jared's like, oh, it's kind of far, bro. It's like, but it wasn't really, but it's just like, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah, yeah,
we'd be playing in front of my house, and then Kevin across the street would be like, yo, you guys playing outside? He'd run outside. We're like, damn. You know what I mean? Like, so it was really just us.
it was us. But there was one thing I did remember now. What we were talking about was like when I first moved there. It was I think that was the initial thing. Was like I didn't know you even existed as a neighbor.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was
It
like
was like Kevin, right?
yeah. It was just once I moved there. I was like okay, how do I make friends? Right. Like how do I meet people?
Mm.
So somebody that was outside, and that person knew Kevin, and only Kevin knew about you. I think
Oh, really?
that's how it happened.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then I knew I was like, oh, you're living next door the whole time.
Yeah.
And then I think
That's
that's what
weird,
rolled
eh?
it off. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yes, totally, totally, totally. And like, it's weird when you think about it because it's like, how the hell did that happen? It was just like
yeah.
perfect circumstance,
Yeah.
you know? And like, arguably, I'd say that like you and Wab are like my two closest friends. I mean, like obviously, like Jared and Sid are still my close friends, but like in terms of like the order with which I called you both out,
Hmm.
that's kind of like how it like we have a weekly podcast. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I'd always call you up first, and then like I'll just respond to Wob's stories because he's like doing something interesting. I'm like, oh, that's so
Hmm.
cute, whatever, whatever. It's like because he was next, you know, and like it's so weird to think about like the structure of it mentally. It's like habitual. We don't even think about like
Yeah, yeah. It's I
friendships or
guess
the development of friendships. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's really weird
Hmm.
because you're like I haven't seen you physically in so long. But like we
Right.
have a weekly podcast. So it's like there's
Yeah.
still that, you know? And then I'll like text you something during the week, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's like a weird habit we formed.
Hmm.
Like that's why like not to get all like sentimental about it, but like I don't really think of you guys like friends. I think you kind of like brothers because we were always outside.
Yeah, yeah,
And like we lived right now. The only thing that separated us was sleeping in different houses.
yeah. Hmm.
Right? But we still went to each other's houses, went to each other's birthdays. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
just we're always around each other. So it was like not a weird thing to think of you more like brothers than friends. Like I distinctly remember
Yeah, you
like
were
being
saying
in
that
like
before.
well what?
You were saying that stuff before. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Because it's like
brothers.
it
Yeah.
like because it's like I had friends at school who were my
Hmm.
friends, but like I never hung out with them. Like I hung out with you guys.
Hmm.
You know? We all went to different schools, but we just go home. It was literally like
Yeah, that was true too. Yeah, we did all go
you know what I'm
through.
saying?
Yeah, we all started off
Different
with
high
going to
schools.
different high schools. Yeah.
Or not even high schools, elementary schools too. 'Cause
Oh
remember,
yeah,
Wald
elementary.
went
Yeah,
to what was the school that Wald went to?
I don't remember.
Lord, no, I don't remember. It was
No,
like
no, no.
some
I think it was
elementary
something
school. It was
else.
like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, right. And he had to like bus there. Like he had his own friends,
Hmm.
and then like you had your own friends. I had my own friends, and then even when we went to the same high school, not you and I, but like Wab and me, we didn't really hang. Like we hung out, but like not really. But then as soon as we got home, we're hanging out all the time.
Hmm.
So it's like with your sibling. You know what I mean? You're like you don't really know what they're doing all day,
Hmm.
but they were just there.
Right, right.
That's why I say it's more like a brotherly type thing versus because like I think about my sister, my Tara was like, "Well, what was your sister doing?" I'm like, "I don't know." Well, you're just in the house. Like I don't know what she's doing. She's living there. You know, and just like I don't know what you were doing during your school hours, but I know
Right.
what you're doing outside when we'd get home. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It was a weird thing, but it's like how many other people built like was it because where we grew up it was like a lot of immigrants because it was cheap housing and then that area started to develop and then it got better. You know what I'm saying? Like the weird circumstance of it all is odd to me.
I don't know why it would work out or play out like that. Because people don't get that lucky, right?
Right. It's weird.
It's weird. Yeah.
But or you know what's even crazier? So Tara was like, "What do you guys talk about when you're outside? Because you're outside every single day. What do you guys talk about?" And
Hmm.
I'm like, literally like geopolitics, aliens, what's cool in anime. Like, and then she's like, "Yeah, like, girl, do you ever talk about like girls you like?" I'm like, "Not really, maybe,
Hmm.
but not really." And then she's like,
Yeah.
"That's all
Not
girls
not a
ever talk
daily
about."
thing, if anything.
No, it's
Yeah.
not like no, like, "Hey, you see the girls?" Like, no, like, why do you like USA, Vish? And then we get into arguments about it,
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, why do you like Superman? He's too overpowered, bro. Like, I
Hmm.
like Spider-Man because that guy has more humanity. Batman's better than Superman. You know,
Hmm.
who would
Yeah.
win in a
Yeah.
fight? You know what I mean? It was always like theoretical, philosophical stuff, right?
Hmm.
And it's like it's literally just this podcast. That's why we used to go for walks, and I was like, "Hey, we should record this. Is technically a podcast, right? It's
Yeah.
just different ideas just being mashed together, not the
Hmm.
same repetitive thing.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?